Hi guys, I'm here today to do a huge unhaul. You can probably already see my shelves are trashed. Basically, we are hoping to own a house by the end of this year, and in order to own a house and move, that means packing everything up and taking it away. So I have decided that it is in my best interest to keep my books to a minimum. I only want to keep it to the shelves I own. These shelves were completely full before I did this unhaul, so I am getting rid. I've been more brutal than I've ever been, and like I say, this is because I want to own a house and I want moving to be slightly less stressful, and it means that I have room to gain books in the time that it'll take me to buy a house. So anyways, yes, let's quickly get into the books since it's going to take me so long. I have 2 manga series that I am giving up on. The first one I barely even got into, and I'm never going to complete it. It's really long from what I know, and that is Tale of the Moon. I have 1 and 2 and a prequel, which I've actually read the prequel. I don't know if this actually gives anything away. Sometimes that can happen, but I can't really remember these, and it's a really long series. I've had these years and I'm nowhere near completing it. I own 3 of the whole collection, so I'm just giving up on it. Sorry, I'm just going to concentrate on Uwatase. Another series that I have read many times and I just cannot get the last 2 volumes. I believe it's 2 that I needed, and it's been years. Like, I was a teenager when I had these 4 volumes and I was looking for volumes 5 and 6. So I'm just done. I'm giving up. And that is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, but I think it's Mamote Lollipop. So I have 4 volumes of this, and I can't keep going with this. I need to let it go. So yeah, those 2 manga series are going. They are both shoujo and they're both fantasy. Shocking, I know. Anyways, yeah, they're going. Right, on to all the novels that I'm getting rid of. This first one is quite a newish one, but it's one I didn't really particularly like. It was one of my least favourite reads of last year, and that is 12 Kings by Bradley Bolio, I want to say it is. Anyways, I couldn't get into this. I tried and I said I might possibly give it a reread, but I really just can't be bothered. It's another series to get into. I have many series already that I'm into, so I'm just going to get rid of this. I actually already have someone to give this to, so I'm just going to let them have it because I don't need any more series. The next one I've had for years and years and years, and I own the movie, and neither were particularly amazing. I don't really know why. I guess because it was just something dark and mysterious. And that is Red Riding Hood, and this is by Sarah Blakely Cartwright and David Leslie Johnson, and this is the book that inspired the movie starring Amanda Seyfried, which actually has an ending, unlike this book. If you want the ending to this book, you have to go onto some sort of website thing to find out more, which did not appeal to me at all. It did, if I remember correctly, this read quite quickly, and it was intriguing, but the ending was just so, because they obviously wanted you to get on board with this whatever website thing they were doing, and I didn't do that. So I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm never going to read it again. This haul is a lot of me saying I'm never going to read it again, even if I liked it or didn't. This next one was, again, a book that I just could not stand, that I read last year. And that is Off the Page by Jodi Picoult and Samantha van Leer. This took, between the lines, a book that I quite enjoyed and just crapped all over it, ruined everything, angered me, repeated the same things over and over again, was unoriginal, and I'm done. Bye! I should probably give synopsises, but if you really need to know, you can look them up. I've got too many books to show here. The next thing is the Witch Trilogy by Ruth Warburton. So I have A Witch in Winter, A Witch in Love, and A Witch Alone. If I remember correctly, I enjoyed them less and less as I got through the trilogy. This is a very juvenile trilogy, and I think I should have read all these when I was much younger, and I probably would have liked them better, but I think I really liked this first one because I was quite young when it came out, and then, yeah, it's just, I'm never going to even attempt to reread them, so Goodbye. This next book I have read, I would probably say like in the teens amount of times. I didn't have many books in my teen years and I didn't have an income, so I relied on birthdays and Christmases, and as my birthday is near the end of the year, as is Christmas, I ended up rereading a lot of books in the meantime, and I've read this book many times. It's a childhood favourite. I was a bit reluctant to let it go, but I've read it so many times I know the plot pretty much off by heart, and that is Raven Queen by Pauline Francis. This is a Lady Jane Grey story. Before the whole My Lady Jane came out and popularised it, this was kind of floating around in the YA sections. I say YA, it's more teen back then when I was actually a teen. Yeah, I loved that story and I read it so many times, but I just don't need to keep it anymore. The next one I got super cheap and I've just decided I'm not going to bother continuing on with the series, even though it's only a duology, and that's Dance of Shadows by Yelina Black. I remember enjoying this story, but if I remember correctly, it kind of wrapped itself up in this first book, and then it was just kind of like, and then there's more, which is going to be the second book, but I don't remember really that well to say that. It's just not really stuck with me. It's a ballerina story. I'm not bothered. I'm just really not bothered. Another one in the same thing, I got this for £1 and I thought I'll give it a go, and I did enjoy this, but I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember the story, which probably isn't a good thing. And yet it's yet another series to start and get into, and that's True Fire by Gary Meehan. I'm just not gonna bother. I can't really remember. This did have a I don't know if this is actually a spoiler that I'm about to say, but this protagonist is quite unique. It's something that doesn't really happen a lot. Yeah, it doesn't say it on the back, I don't want to spoil it, but something about this protagonist is quite unique. So it did have that element, but I'm just not continuing on. Another book that is from my youth that I have read multiple times. It was one of my favourite books. I'm actually only keeping one of my favourite teenage books now. That is Teen Idol by Meg Cabot. I really liked this story. It was when I was much more of a contemporary reader, so I enjoyed it a lot more then. And it's a story of a movie star going to a high school. I know it very well. I'm getting rid of it. Again, I pretty much know everything that happens. The next one is a book I got for £1 and tried to series, but I wasn't that drawn into it, and I'm really not that bothered about continuing on now that I think about it. And it's a hardcover. That might be a spoiler as to what it is if you've watched my hauls. And that is Tempest by Julie Cross. I am not going to go out and buy 2 more hardcovers. They're not going to be anywhere near as cheap. They're not going to be just floating around in Poundland like this was. And I'm just not that bothered. The end. This next book I'm actually getting rid of because my boyfriend owns it, so we don't need 2 copies. And I have read it and it wasn't amazing. I'll never reread it. It's a bit of a strange one compared to everything else on here, but that is Frankie Boyle, my shit life so far. I apologise for the swearing, but that's what it's called. Frankie Boyle is a very controversial comedian. I don't know if he's really broken to America or anything, but he's a very interesting man in his comedy style, and that was when he was really big in Mock the Week that I got that book. But his book is very much how some of his more solo things have gone, as in not all that funny and just trying too hard to be controversial. I love a bit of controversy, but sometimes he just takes it way too far. So yeah, I'm getting rid of it. My boyfriend has it if I ever really desperately feel like I need to reread it. And he's never read it. The next one is another book from my youth. And that is You Against Me by Jenny Downham. This is quite an interesting one actually. This is one of those contemporaries that I think someone like me who's not really into contemporaries can kind of get on board with. This is basically a rape case is going on, and we see from the eyes of people who are not actually the people in the case but are related to the people in the case, and kind of how it affects their lives. So it was interesting and I liked it, but I'm never going to reread it and I need to let go of the past apparently. Another trilogy that I read so long ago, like you can probably tell that Twilight was big, and that is the Dark Heart trilogy by Lee Monroe. I don't actually know what order these are. I think this one's the first one. Dark Heart Forever, Dark Heart Rising and Dark Heart Surrender. And these basically have every paranormal thing ever in them. I don't think that's a spoiler, I hope not. But yeah, it was fun at the time. This next one I won in a giveaway and I gave it a very meh review, and I haven't heard anything about the sequels, so I'm giving up, I'm not bothered. And that is One Prince, Two Kingdoms by Jana Grissom. This was supposed to have a sequel where you could choose what ending you wanted, so you could pick sequel with a good ending, and you could have that a sequel with a bad ending. You could have that, but they're not even like listed as potentially coming out on Goodreads, and I'm not that invested. I gave it 3 stars, and it wasn't because it wasn't anything I was too bothered about. This next series, I loved the first book, and then the second 2 books were just like disappointments, so I'm not going to keep hold of this any longer. That is the Nightshade trilogy by Andrea Crema. So it's Nightshade, Blood Rose and Wolfsbane. I am never going to reread this trilogy if I didn't really like the second 2 books. I loved book 1, I really got into it, and then it just kind of went all downhill for me. So yeah, sorry, it's going. And then another series that I read again when I was younger. I finished it when I was older though, and a lot of people seem to dislike this series, but I was okay with it. That is the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. So Hush Hush, Crescendo, Silence and Finale. I think everyone's seen these books floating around. They're okay, they're not bad. I read the Fallen series before this and I hated it, so I think these just looked amazing in comparison. So yes, they're going. This again is another series that started really strong, and I said it was one of my favourite series, and then it just got worse with like the last few books, and then I have a spin-off book as well, and that is the Need series by Carrie Jones. So it's Need, Captivate, Entice, Endure, and then After Obsession. This was really weird, and it isn't really about these books, but yeah, it's supposed to be in the same like world. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting rid of them. I'm not going to reread them, and they got kind of worse over time, so I'm not bothered. Again, not bothered. The next book is a book that I really enjoyed until it got to the ending, and then I was like, what? So it got bumped down in the ratings for that, and that is Smolder by Brenna Yovanov. This is Demon Story, I think? Yeah, Demon Story. It's okay. I got this super cheap, so I'm not like upset, but it was disappointing in the end. This next book I quite enjoyed when I read it, but now I don't really remember, and I don't think I'm gonna pick it up for a reread, and that is Emerald by Karen Wallis. This is historical, and I remember rooting for the character, but I don't remember why I was rooting for her. So sadly, Emerald is going. The next trilogy is, I think I'm getting rid of all my books I own by this author. Somehow. That is it Abandoned trilogy by Meg Cabot again. Sorry, Meg Cabot. I enjoyed this trilogy when I read it. I can't be bothered keeping it because I'm not going to reread it. And that is Abandon, Underworld and Awaken. And I fully got the beautiful editions of each of these books. And I spent quite a bit of money getting that third one, I think. But it was okay. I enjoyed it. But they're not my favourites. I'm not going to pick them up. I've got too many books to read to consider rereading a meh series. So they're going. So yeah, here's my other book by her, which again I enjoyed. It's the beginning of a series, but I've never picked up the sequel, and I've had it a few years now, and I'm just not gonna. I need to stop starting all these series that I don't intend on finishing. So that is Insatiable by Meg Cabot as well. This is her like adult series of vampires. It was fun, but that was it. It was fun. The next series, duology, I won the first one in a giveaway, and that is After Eden and Chasing Stars. I don't know what this duology is actually called, but it's by Helen Douglas. So these are the 2 books. Yeah, I won this one, and then I went out and bought the second one, and I liked the first one, and then the second one was just a bit... This was one of the books where I talked about I had a pet peeve about Ginger being so unique and special, and oh my god. That was one of the books that really cemented that annoyance for me. The second one in that. The next book I got this super cheap again. I enjoyed it, but it's a thriller and I'm not going to reread it. It's a contemporary. It was okay at the time. I say okay, I did enjoy it. That is The Sound by Sarah Alderson. It was a nice contemporary thriller, but I'm not going to reread it, and I'm not that like attached to it, so it's going. Another trilogy I have here, that is the Star-Crossed trilogy by Josephine Angelini. So it is Star-Crossed, Dreamless and Goddess. And I kind of remember this trilogy, but I don't remember it all that well. It's a mythology retelling, and I'm not that bothered, so I'm not going to keep it. You'll have to go there, I've got no room at that side, sorry guys. Then the next trilogy, oh I've got a few trilogies here, is the Chronicles, is this called? The Remnants? I feel like that's what this is called. Anyways, it's by Amy Plum, and it's Die For Me, Until I Die, and If I Should Die, and these are beautiful books. It's a bit of a shame to get rid of them really, but I've read them, I enjoyed them, they were fun. I'm not going to reread them, and I want to read other things, so I need room for that, so they're going. I have 2 out of 3 books of a trilogy here. I'm not bothered anymore. It's been a while since I read these books, so I'm just going to give up. And there was a lot of stipulation as to whether the 3rd book was actually going to come out. I haven't actually checked if that has changed, but there was a point where no one actually knew if this was going to end. So that is, I don't know what this is called, the Deadly trilogy, by Kathleen Peacock. So Deadly Hemlock and Deadly Fawns. I'm giving up, sorry. The next trilogy is the last trilogy I've got actually, and that is the Hereafter trilogy by Tara Hudson. I should probably know what these trilogies are called before just deciding what they're called. So yeah, Hereafter, Arise and Elegy, and I enjoyed these. They were nice ghost books, like this is a paranormal romance, and they were fun and enjoyable. I'm not going to reread them. And then lastly, this was one that I kind of debated over, because at one point in my life I decided they were one of my favourite authors, but I think I've kind of grown out of them. I'm keeping one of their books, but not these 4, and that is Sarah Desson. I'm keeping Just Listen because that is a story that I really enjoyed, and actually that means I'm keeping 2 of my favourite teen reads, because I'm keeping that and Red Tears. Anyways, so yeah, so I'm getting rid of these 4, which are Along for the Ride, Lock and Key, and That Summer, no, not And That Summer, and then The Truth About Forever, which are beautiful editions. I love these editions of these books, but I just don't have room. I'm not going to reread them. I'm not really into contemporary anymore. It needs to be like a real standout, different contemporary for me to even attempt it. So yeah, those are all the books I'm getting rid of. I think there's like 60. But you know, that means I've got more room for more books, and it means I've got room to move into a lovely house, hopefully. So thank you for watching. I apologise that I kind of zoomed through them, but you understand why. See you later, guys.